we've talked a lot about data and audience analytics in the last sessions right before lunch, and we're going to stick with data going forward for the next couple of sessions. This particular one is of personal interest to me because I hate when things creep me out on the internet, when suddenly things just start popping up of something that I've seen before. And Marc Al-Hames, who's the managing director of Cliqz in Germany, is going to talk about data and privacy, how to use data responsibly without creeping users out. Marc, all yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's kind of weird talking to you via headphones while you're in front of me. This is an exclusive and small audience, like privacy is today. It's really not a mainstream topic, and most of us don't want to hear about it. But still, it's an important topic, and you're the right spot because I know what you've been doing yesterday, and I'll come to this in a second. This talk, despite the title Balancing Audience Tracking with Secure and Privacy Browsing, is completely imbalanced. I will mainly talk about privacy and only at the end talk about how we can get rid of the mess we have created. I'm working at Cliqz. Cliqz is a German-based, not so much startup anymore. We've created our own search engine. We run our own search index, and the novelty about it is it's completely integrated into a browser. We are more than 100 colleagues, very heavily tech-driven, very international, more than 30 nationalities. We have two main investors. One is Hubert Burda Media, the big publishing house. They own a majority. Last year, Mozilla, the maker of the Firefox browser, invested into us because they love this combination of privacy, search, and building this into a browser. And our key USP is we have 0 data points about our users. This is how the product looks like. The key difference to traditional search engines is, well, we give you results already while you type. This is especially important if you're on a mobile device, because actually you very rarely have to actually finish typing what you actually want from us, and we'll have the right result for you. It only works in Germany, US, and France for now. So if you're from a different country, unfortunately, it will not work. Now, I don't want to talk about Cliqz. I want to talk about the internet in general and why privacy is a big problem right now. We are all used to the internet like it's shown here or on a mobile device. It really doesn't matter. Most of us consume our news in the morning via the internet. We listen to music, we watch videos, we write our homeworks using Wikipedia, and we are all used to this nice, good-looking, fancy and free medium. But there's one problem, and the problem is the key to monetization in the internet today is very rarely pure advertising. It is mainly a data-driven advertising, and you can basically earn 10 times more with your advertisement if you know more about your user. And this is where all the problems start. And the interesting thing is, users start noticing. So this was a poll done in 2015 where users were asked, do you trust the internet? And it was just a very broad question, do you trust the internet? It wasn't distinguished between ISPs or content providers or whatsoever. Actually, nearly 80% don't trust the internet. We are working in an industry that is worse off than the insurance industry in public perception, and that's really bad. And actually, users are right about it. And sometimes it surfaces. So this is actually I've deleted the brand because this is not brand bashing, but it's a common newspaper in Germany. It's a major one, and they published this headline in English. This is about refugees basically being drawn in the sea, and on top of it, you see an O2 advertisement. Can I be home everywhere? This is like the worst possible format you can put out as advertisement. Unfortunately, no human has ever seen that except your users. There's more to this. This is what's so fancy about real-time bidding. Everyone knows I want to go to New York. And since this is a high-value transaction, everyone wants to try to make that transaction with me. And this is me being stalked by advertisers around the world. And you can see we barely see the content. And this is what the users basically see today. And users who don't use an ad blocker just don't know how to do it, because the tipping point has reached. You cannot watch the web with this anymore. But this is actually not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what's under the surface of all this advertisement-driven model and what's the real problem. So we with Cliqz took last year 200,000 of our users, and we measured the web from their perspective. So basically, we looked what is rendered at the web page that the user does not get to see, but that is still happening on their computer. And generally, a user has an expectation. If I go to The Economist and I read The Economist, I sort of know The Economist knows that I'm there. I have my IP address and whatever if I'm not technical. Maybe I'm even logged in. What I don't know is that there's a lot of commercial spies also seeing that I'm doing this. And they are called trackers. And mainly they are there for retargeting purposes. and we measured the web from the view of 200,000 of our users and look what is happening. And what you can see is only 5% of the web loads that are being done are what we call secure. You are in a one-on-one transaction with the website you're actually visiting. In 95% of the cases, someone else is spying on you while you do it. And you're a selected audience, you're listening to my talk, you're probably aware of trackers. 99% of the population have no clue that if they shop something somewhere, someone else is getting that information. Now, unsurprisingly, if you look at who is this, who is sitting on the web pages and spying, it's an unsurprising list. So Google basically sees 61.5% of what you're doing in the web. That means 61 out of 100 web pages you see, Google gets that information. I have to make this a bit more clear, because this is if you actively avoid using Google. So you destroy your Android phone, you basically put it in a crisp bag and you throw it out of the window. You delete Google Chrome from your computer. You're obviously not using a Chromebook, and you never do a single search on Google. So you're basically making your life miserable. Once you've done that, tough luck, Google still sees 61 out of 100 web pages you see in the internet. The same for Facebook. This number actually has grown to 40% last month. If you've never created an account with Facebook, so you've never actually check the box with them, they will know 40% of what you do in the internet. Now, these are all quite legitimate companies, and we can be pretty sure that they will keep our data somewhat safe. However, there's one caveat to it. You have to trust them forever. And Yahoo is a good example, because Yahoo used to be a big company, now they got sold. And guess what? Your data is sold as well. I'm a simple engineer, I can tell you one thing. Deleting data is more expensive than just storing it forever. So whatever is collected, you have to trust that Google will never get sold to a shady third party. Now, let's trust Google for a moment, and Facebook as well, because they are rich companies. These are not. These are the top 100 trackers in Germany, and they also get all of your information. And my absolute favorite, if you have any doubt that this is not legitimate, is the one up right here, Double Pimp. It does exactly what the name says. Now, is there some evil plan of the world to basically steal all of our data and of the websites being part in this? No, it's not. And I have a good example for that. This is our website, Cliqz, and this is our anti-tracking at work. We have on our own website, well, we used to have, we killed this. We had tracker on our own website. And it's actually very crucial. If you see here, there's name, email address, and people can send back feedback. And the interesting fact is Google is on that page and can read it. Obviously, we never had a meeting where we said, well, let's put Google on our web page to give the data of our users away. It just happens. You basically, in our case, we included a video from a third party, which is very convenient. Unfortunately, the moment you open that door, you'll basically open the door to everyone. And it's very hard to actually control this. And if you would ask any editor of a major online newspaper, they have no clue what's going on their web page. Now, is this bad or is this not bad? I have a good example. So we went to the marketplace and we basically bought on one of these real-time bidding exchanges, how it is called. You can basically buy user profiles and things that people have visited so that I have the chance to book an advertisement against you going to New York. And I brought one of these data points we bought. This is a public URL. Anyone in this audience feeling uncomfortable that I show it here? No one? Okay, I have a second one. Heilpraktiker is a German doctor, and there's some administrator access, also bought publicly. Any concerns? No? Okay, you should see the sledgehammer coming. I have a third one. Anyone concerned? Raise your arm. It's time. Okay, so this is a bank. There's bank details in there. This is kind of what you can publicly buy. But still, there is not much secret information in it. Still, I would be worried if it would be my bank account showing it around here. The challenge comes from the tiny, tiny fact that you get for free in this real-time exchanges. What they will do is they give you a user ID on top of it, not a name. They just say this is user 12357. And if you then combine the information, you'll actually learn a lot. You learn that one person has visited 3 web pages. First, it visited a profile Little Vegan on MyFitnessPal. So it could be just a user visiting it, or could be the person itself. That person has access to the administrator account of Heilpraktiker, and a bank account in a bank in Munich, and then it's very easy. You can use any search engine of your world. That's the person with these 3 data points. There's an important lesson. Whenever someone tells you there's pseudo-anonymous profiles, which is basically what drives our world, there is no pseudo-anonymity in the web. There is no anonymity in the web. It's all pseudo. It takes literally 3 to 7 URLs that a person has visited to identify you clearly. Now, it's very hard to construct an example like this that I dare showing here. And the problem is, what you usually buy in the web is not 3 URLs. It's much more, and I will show you. So this is the profile of another user. And you can easily see on the 10th of May 2016, between 2 o'clock and 2:45, that person was visiting YouTube. Unsurprisingly, it's basically a music playlist, terrible music taste, by the way. But it doesn't stop there. So if we look back, we have half a year of that person, and we see up to 1,200 URLs that person visits per day, over half a year. It's somebody who uses the computer mainly at home, not in the office, which you can see it's mainly evening time. Around 8, it's a he, I can show you later. He usually cooks dinner and then goes back to the computer to watch videos. It's a student, you can easily see. He's basically trying to format a table of contents for his bachelor thesis. He's not very persistent in this. After 3 minutes, he usually gives up every day, and then he goes first to his webmail account. And once he's done his webmail account, he usually ends up, in this case, he starts studying at 11:06, and he goes to Facebook at 11:12, and then he stays there for the rest of the day. And he also tries to fiddle with his privacy settings. It's very important to him. And that's actually, we have all his data, so he should really take care of his privacy. But you see it's not working, because I'm sitting on a different level where I can buy this data. And then you easily find out it's him. I'm not showing his face. It really doesn't matter. But this is kind of what you can buy in real-time bidding exchanges and what is called to be anonymous. Estimates are that there are around 20 million profiles of Germans around, which is 1/3 of the population. So every third in this room is basically for sale. Big companies like Excelate or Bluekai claim they have 6 billion profiles worldwide, which would be literally every connected device. And there's very sensitive information, even if you think you have nothing to hide. This is if you happen to have an HSBC dollar bank account. This is logged in. This is not a marketing page. You can actually see the bank account details. You see the bank balance of somebody not being incredibly rich. You notice there is no tweet button. Very few people tweet their bank balance and their bank account details. There's also no like button. Very few people, Hubert Boda maybe, but most people don't like their bank account balance. So there's a reason for no like button. And still you can see our anti-tracking detects Google, Facebook, and Twitter on this web page getting all this information. I'm pretty sure HSBC is not even aware that this is happening. Now it gets even worse. If you happen to look for illnesses, and this is something that is in Germany incredibly well protective. If I would ask any of my employees whether they've done an HIV test, actually they could sue me for the right reasons. This is for sale in the data. If you would have done an HIV test this morning, Bluekai and Excelate, the biggest data providers of the world, actually put this on sale, this data. And just how awkward this is, I want to demonstrate to you. Hi, I'm Mark. How you doing? Well?
Well.
Yes, that's very good. I did an HIV test this morning. It is not how we talk to each other. We usually decide with whom we share what kind of information. And this is the kind of information we usually don't share. But me being an engineer and having access to real-time bidding exchanges can basically buy this information about every one of you. And if you think this to an end, this is the end of society how we know it, because there's no secrecy anymore if this happens. And right now this is happening. And the worst part of it is, there used to be an excellent equation. The equation was, you use my products, I get your data and can advertise against it. And that's a very fair deal. If you use Google, you know that they get your data, and it's completely fair that they put a couple of ads on top of their search results. If you decide to post naked pictures of you being drunk on Facebook, that's your thing, but you know you're doing it. You might regret it, but you know you're doing it. And you know you're giving it to the platform, and they will advertise against it. But the world has changed in the last 2 or 3 years. The companies have become greedy. Their users alone are not enough for them anymore. So Facebook, for example, famously announced last year, you can now not only advertise against our users, you can advertise against people. It sounds great. What it means is they actually start collecting profiles and advertise against people who have never opted into their service. And it's, again, it's this marketing slang of we just use anonymous data points from our like buttons and whatsoever. That is marketing bullshit. It means they are collecting your data, they are selling it, and you have no benefit of it at all. Cliqz is completely different. We believe in big data. There is no going back from data anymore because data has huge benefits for the world. We, however, believe no company in this world should have access to personal information. And we basically built Cliqz from the very first day in a way that between us and our users, there are proxy servers not run by us. Everything that is in any way personal will always remain on your client device. And this goes way beyond a user ID or just basically the IP address. We basically destroy all the connection between individual data points to make sure that on our servers there's actually never a profile of the user. On top of that, we also have probably the best anti-tracking in the world, making it impossible for everyone else to track you. Now, I talked in the beginning that this is about balancing tracking, privacy, and audience measurement. And this wasn't very balanced because it was mainly about how fucked up the world right now is. And it is. And it doesn't matter whether you are part of the publishing ecosystem, the tracker, the advertisement, or at the advertiser side. We are all losing in this world that we are in right now. But we are all forced into it because there's no alternative. But I usually compare it to the beginning of industrialization, and that's a picture how industrialization in the beginning looked like. I think actually this is a China picture right now. In the beginning of every industry, and the internet is a very young industry, despite the fact that everyone always says, oh, internet is gone, now it's all voice, and now it's all this and that hype. The internet is just 20 years old. It's very, very young. And we're still learning. And we've only learned one way, and that one way was you have to collect a server-side profile and everything will be great. But that world will basically destroy society as we know it because it gives me endless opportunities to get all of your data. Now, I don't know how to balance this correctly, and I don't know how to get rid of it, because if you're a publisher, you might just need the money from Google, Facebook, and Criteo, and you cannot just get them off your web page. But it's also clear the users hate it. And eventually the users will turn. And I believe that we will end up in 10, 20, 30 years in a world that is like the industrialization we have today. Data is very, very important. I don't want to get rid of data, but I want to get rid of all the smog that it creates. And that's possible. And if engineers just take a bit of time and think about it, and if management just gives them the room, everything we do today is possible without this pollution. It just takes a bit of effort. And I believe that's a $1 billion opportunity for the next years to come. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Marc? There should be loads. Huh?
Oh, we will do an advertising-based business model, and it can even be targeted. This is what I said, but it doesn't require us to get the data. Just imagine we will send our advertisement or offers like a radio station broadcasts everything, and your browser just picks what it wants. We just turn the principle. This is my fundamental belief. Everything that is done today can be done without anyone having these profiles. We're thinking about a paid version as well, by the way, but I don't think that's a mass market product.
Anybody else? All right, Marc's details were on his slides, and you can connect with him later on. Marc, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.